All right. It's Monday. What is it? The 16th. Interesting day in transportation. And I thought I would spend a few minutes tonight and let's kind of go over it. And this sort of goes back a few months, really. I don't know how many months. I guess I could have looked that one up, but a few months. Let's see, Arturo's World, what's that? Bob Fiddy? Archie, TJ, Don, Josh. Hope you guys are doing well. So, let me pull this up really quick. Let's see, which tab? I got too many tabs open. I want to start this video. I want to talk about just a few numbers, probably not all that surprising. I want to set the stage for kind of the rest of this video. Now look, let me also preface this. So I'm going to use DAT. These are some numbers right off of DAT. Josh, interesting that you're stuck in Washington. That's not good. I was just on the load board looking out of Washington, and there were some decent loads available for reefer. I guess it all depends on what you're pulling and where you want to go. I'm going to talk about these numbers for just a minute. So this is coming directly off of DAT. Today, average fuel price $3.24 a gallon. Spot market loads. Now remember, right? I don't think I can do this over 2016. I can't. This is year over year for last year. If anybody recalls how good freight was this time last year, these numbers should probably be really surprising. So this is year over year from today last year in June. Freight on the spot market is up 72%. That's kind of a big number, considering last year was about 100% increase over 2016. So let me repeat this. Spot market loads are up 72%. Spot market capacity is only up 1.5%. Van loads up 76%. Flatbed, 100% increase. 31% on the flatbed for the spot market. Reefer up 30%. Reefer rates on the spot market up 27%. Fuel prices up 30% from June of last year. So most all of our trucks are out. They're done. We're all done with flowers, so everybody's out running OTR now. And so we're paying really close attention to freight everywhere, rates everywhere, fuel prices, you name it, right? We're watching all those things, right? No, I didn't actually, Logic. No. But that sort of leads me into the video that I posted here. I don't know when it was, several months back, when I said relationships don't matter. And I'm going to explain to you. I'm going to talk about that video. A lot of guys there were people that I didn't even know had YouTube channels, right? Didn't even know had YouTube channels, and they were like, this guy has no clue what he's talking about. Relationships matter. Relationships are everything in business. I read it in a book. I see it. Relationships matter, certainly, most definitely. The problem is they matter a whole hell of a lot less when you're in a commoditized industry. Newsflash, trucking, commoditized industry, right? So there's a balance, right? And I want to explain to you guys firsthand what we see. I'm not saying this is what you guys see, right? Feel free to chime in, because we're a small company, and I'm not going to pretend that we see it all. I'm just going to tell you what we see, right? So take that. I'm going to tell you for a fact what we see, and then if that applies to you, then great. Apply it to yourself. Understand, though, what I'm saying when I say relationships don't matter. So Friday, all in the world of transportation and load boards and spot markets and that sort of thing were as they have been for the past several months, right? today, Monday, this is the time of year. In fact, some of our sort of brokers that we, kind of our go-to brokers, right? And I hate to use that phrase because I don't really care for them all that much, but we'll call them our go-to brokers. Now, these are brokers that contend that we are one of their best carriers, right? I mean, we are their A carriers. A couple of them we couldn't get a hold of today. The actual individuals, because they were in their meetings. Now, I suspect I know what those meetings are about. I suspect those meetings are about all the RFPs that are ongoing this time of year, right? Typically that third week in July is when things start to get a little sketchy. We get into that first and second. Oftentimes even that third week of August, we see rates sort of take a noticeable dip. And by noticeable, I mean 10 to 15%. Obviously, the higher the rate is, the bigger the dip of 10% is, right? So if rates are $1 a mile, it's only a 10-cent drop at 10%. If it's $2 a mile, you're taking a 20% hit. Okay, so a lot of these guys got all excited. Man, I'm gonna tell Trucking Exec just how freaking much of an idiot he is. He doesn't know anything about business, relationships, or everything that matter. So so today in the world of transportation, we had a lot of conversations were had, and these conversations sort of sounded something like this. Listen, I wrote some of these down. Hey man, we love our A carriers. You guys know that you're an A carrier. But today, our customers are forcing us to work with Yahoos. Okay? This is the best I can do. Our customers said, what was the other one? We are done being held hostage. This was the quote from the broker directly from their customer. We are done being held hostage with these rates. Now the broker said our customer refuses to pay these rates any longer. Guess what? What Wilbur told them is, guess what? We refuse to pay the prices at the fuel pump anymore. But guess what? We really don't have a choice. So I want to explain why I said relationships don't matter. I want to explain why a lot of these guys are just a bunch of damn liars, is because when push comes to shove, you are nothing more than a truck in 53 feet of cubic space, of which there are a whole host of other trucks and trailers that will do the job. And quite frankly, when push comes to shove, what was it they said? They will be forced to work with the Yahoos. We had a conversation today about some of the rates, right? And Dave called me this morning. He's like, man, I don't know what in the world is going on. And I was like, I do. We see it every time. And typically, it's not until next week. I'm sure the brokers just want to try really hard to make a few extra bucks this week. But they're obligated to try. You're obligated to say no. I said, fine. Guess what? If they're not willing to pay that rate at 8 o'clock this morning, just sit tight. Wait until 3 o'clock. They're probably a hell of a lot more apt to pay that rate at 3 o'clock. And if they're not, fine, call me. I'll jump on the load boards. I'll start making phone calls. We can go at this tag team. We'll figure it out. We'll find a way to move that truck at a good rate. Why am I so confident in that? Because freight is up 72% over what it was last year. Freight hasn't dropped today. The only thing that's dropped is the customer's expectations for what they'll have to pay for it. Why do you need to understand why that matters? So understand that this is a supply and demand industry. Demand is still really high. Supply is still really low relative to the trucks available to take these loads. It is a situation where supply and demand, that's what happens in commoditized industries, right? It's sort of like if you want to buy, I don't know, whatever, what is that right there? It's a 4 terabyte external hard drive. I can go buy those all day long on Amazon, right? Some quality might be a little bit better, but guess what? I can buy that one for $105. It'll be here tomorrow. Whatever, right? Same thing. They might not want to pay more. They can find some Yahoo that'll take it for a whole hell of a lot less. It's fine, right? All I got to do is buy 2 of those things, and I can back one up on the other, and I'm good. If that one crashes, guess what? It doesn't matter. I got another one. It's $100. Big deal. They're tired of being held hostage. Held hostage? What are you talking about? Were you guys around in 2014, 2015, 2016, early 2017? Not being held hostage. Guys are just making a reasonable living now. Oh, by the way, fuel's up 30% over last year, and last year it was creeping up. I'm not sure you're being held hostage. But if you don't want to move your freight, that's fine. In fact, that's one of the advantages, I think, about reefer, right? So there's a lot of knocks on reefer, right? Longer than expected wait times, right? You can have longer load times, longer unload times, those sorts of things. But there are times throughout the year when reefer freight, it's a perishable product, whatever it is, right? It has to go, right? And so I think you see a lot more of those hot load rates with reefer because it is perishable. I don't know that makes up for it year over year with dry van. I'm not sure about that. And I'm not stating that either. What I'm saying is be really cautious of listening to these knuckleheads that say everything matters, because when push comes to shove, you can do a phenomenal freaking job for 6 months, for 6 years, right? You can do the best job for those brokers. But the moment that their customer says, I'm not going to pay that, I don't want to be held hostage, whatever the excuse is, all of a sudden, those brokers that say you are our A carrier, we're all things to you, you guys do great, we're going to be forced to work with the yahoos. That's what it comes down to. That's what it's like. Doesn't mean the brokers want that. Brokers even said, look, I don't want to do this. It's not what I want. I have a choice. I don't have a choice because the customer won't pay that. Okay? Now, somebody might take that load, right? And so the broker and the end customer says, look, I told you, right? The original customer says, I told you. Somebody might not take that load until, and then the customer has to sort of say, well, I guess I will be held hostage. I don't know. What I can tell you is this time of year, July and August, what you guys need to understand is these things are going on. Customers are using this leverage, and that's what it is. This is leverage. Customers use their leverage when it comes time to renegotiating contracts with brokers. And this is what happens in August, right? August is the time of the year predominantly when shippers renegotiate contracts with brokers. Guess what brokers want to do? Brokers want to show that they can save money or move freight at the cheapest possible rate for those customers. That's how they secure those contracts. Now, you get into quality of service and all the things that their brokers can do that might warrant that service-related component that warrants paying more potentially. But depending on how much freight that shipper is moving, it might or might not warrant paying more for that service. Again, there are a million trucks. Well, there's millions of trucks out on the road. Just about as many brokers, right? So that's a very commoditized relationship as well. So understand that brokers are feeling a lot of stress and a lot of pressure from their end customer to reduce rates. And it was a weird day. It was a really, really weird day for us. I don't know if it was a weird day for you guys or not. But it was a really weird day. The other thing you need to understand, I saw this morning. In fact, I made several comments, and I don't typically make many comments on Facebook. But there was this collection of individuals that said, we need the government to step in and standardize the rates that brokers should be charging. And that just makes me want to throw up in my mouth because, one, this is just a personal opinion. I tend to believe that more often than not, when the government gets involved, they tend to screw things up more often than they get it right. Just my opinion. You may not agree with that. This isn't a red versus blue argument. This is just an overall Scott Cartwright opinion. Take that for what it's worth. Having said that, this industry is ridiculously regulated. I don't think that we need more regulation, nor do I think that we should have the government mandate what the brokers can or can't make relative to profit, because the second or the day that they do that, probably the very next day is the day that they come into the carrier space and say, well, look, if we're going to mandate what they can or can't make, we ought to probably be mandating what you guys can or can't make. No thanks, right? No thanks. Because that's where I feel our competitive advantage should come into play. All the work, all the time and effort that we spend into tracking and reducing at all costs, our costs, gives us a leg up over our competition. So I am more than happy to go and compete with a bunch of individuals that don't know jack crap about building relationships, running businesses, managing costs, reducing. I'm happy as hell to go and compete against those individuals all day. I don't want somebody coming in and telling me what I can and can't make, right? I don't want that. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for our drivers. I don't want that at all, right? I just don't buy into that. I'm not going to make a political argument. I don't buy into that. Furthermore, while I don't particularly love a lot of the brokers, they do provide a service, and the analogy I've used in the past many times is sort of like they're kind of the Match.com of freight, right? They spend all the time, all the money, and this is sort of what I explained to the people this morning, which was, gosh, sorry, my nose is itching, which was this. You've got bazillions of shippers out there. Somebody has to spend the time to make the phone calls, jump in a car, go get a hotel, jump on a plane, go get a hotel, and meet with these customers to pitch their services. And that's what the brokers do, okay? They spend a whole host of money. If they're even just a moderately upscale small business, they're gonna have an office. That office is gonna cost them every bit as much as what a lot of guys are paying in a truck. They have all the utilities, all the bills, all the salaries, all the back office, all the payroll. They have all these things that they got to cover. Plus, they have to go and spend the time to compete against that customer. Oh, by the way, they can't just walk in. I know because we've done this. We've responded to some massive RFPs, right? RFPs that we just did not at the time, a couple of years ago, we did not have enough quality data to be responding in a manner that was going to allow us to win it because we were lacking data. These guys spend a whole bunch of money. These brokers that are winning business from some of these bigger shippers, they're spending a whole bunch of money to acquire a lot of the lane transactional data to use to compete against all the other brokers in that industry or in our industry. But when it all comes down to pushing and shoving and that sort of stuff, what was it? They are forced to work with the Yahoos. Right now, week in, week out, throughout the month, throughout the year, when customers are need to move freight, or it's their busy time of year, or when they're not renegotiating contracts and they have a little bit of leverage, they're just going to pay to move it. Again, spot market loads up 72%, van loads up 76%, flatbed up 100%, reefer up 30%, fuel up 30%. What part of that tells you that they can get away with being held hostage for these rates? None of it, right? I mean, freight's up a hell of a lot more than it was last year. And last year, it was up 100% year over year before 2016, right? So look, now let's be honest for a minute. Let's spend a few minutes being honest. Sadly, there are a whole host of carriers and drivers that will lie their face off to the brokers, right? And it just gives us a really bad, whether it's, oh, my turbo, right? Or a flat, or this, or that. Lie their faces off. My hours of service. Oh yeah, do I have 40 hours left on my clock? You bet, I'm good, I can run this. They probably only have like 5 hours left and they're gonna take a reset underneath that load. It's that kind of crap that gives a lot of carriers a really bad reputation, and it causes brokers to just absolutely hate and despise working with us. And so when they do find good carriers, quickly they throw them into their A-class carrier. And yeah, they do try to take care of us to the extent possible. But the second, and I mean the second, the day that the customer phones and says, we're not gonna be held hostage, all bets are off. That relationship that you might have spent time, effort, money, all that, it doesn't matter. Why? Because they're gonna go work with the Yahoos. Why? Because they'll move it. This wasn't one broker saying this. We had these conversations a lot today. Wilbur was so frustrated. Like, he was beyond frustrated. So I don't know. Look at the facts, look at the data, look at the amount of trucks. If you guys are seeing some of the same types of things that we are, don't take that rate, because you can turn right around and say, hey, guess what? Fuel's up 30%. Freight is up, whatever your market segment is, right? Flatbed, reefer, you name it. Whatever it is, you can sit there and say no. And they can turn right around and say, well, guess what? Our customer's not going to be held hostage. And you can say, that's cool. I'm going to post my truck, and I'll find those individuals that are willing to move it, because I can guarantee you somebody somewhere besides that broker that you deal with often has freight to move. I don't know. I used the analogy here a few days ago. I was talking with somebody about this. I said, let's say that I want to sell my kitchen table here that I'm going live from. And I posted on Craigslist or Facebook or whatever for pick a number, right? $500. And all of a sudden my aunt sees on my Facebook page that I'm selling my kitchen table. And she says, hey, can I get that for $300? What are you going to do? You're going to probably sell it to your aunt for $300, right? Or just give it to her for free, more than likely. Same kind of thing happens in our space, right? I tend to think that when you have close relationships with some of these brokers, I think you need to be really cautious, because you get into that tendency of, if I give them a little bit better deal now, when push comes to shove later, I'm going to get some return on my investment. Your investment is maybe not asking or being as aggressive as you should on the rates, right? But that's not what happens, because when push comes to shove, what do they say? I'm forced to work with the yahoos. It's out of my control. It's out of my hands. I can't help it. Sucks to be me. Sucks to be you, right? That's why I say I don't know that those relationships matter nearly as much as a lot of these individuals said that they do. Now, having said all of that, do I believe that relationships matter? Absolutely, relationships matter. But as I said in that original video that everybody else got so up in arms about, and they probably just, I was about to say something really nasty. They probably just didn't hear the message. Relationships matter when it is beneficial or mutually beneficial to both parties. That's when their value truly comes out. I can be providing great value for 6 months, right? Maybe I'm getting top dollar, but the second that their market turns, those few times when they've said, hey, I need whatever, pick a number, $250 a mile, and they go, man, can you just please do it for $240 a mile? Like, just help me out. I'll return the favor. You do that how many times, guess what? You're owed a lot of money after a few times just taking a nickel less or a dime less, because you think you're getting some advantage down the road when the market turns. Guess what? Market turns, got to go work with the yahoos. Not my fault. Don't blame me. It's my customer. But what about all those times back when I took $240 a mile when I should have got $250 a mile? Not my fault. Customer says they're not going to be held hostage. That's the game. This is a commoditized industry. Understand that, right? Just understand it. Do your research. Do your homework. Find the lanes to stay in. Don't be afraid right now. And I don't say this often. If somebody wants to balk at it, let that freight freaking sit. Post your truck on the board for those of you that run the spot market. Post it on the board and sit. Go get a shower. Go get a nice dinner, right? Go watch a movie. Brokers calling you to do the movie, cool, step out. Wilbur's in the house, we're talking about you, man. We're talking about sort of today and that mantra that we're hearing from brokers, and I'm forced to work with yahoos, and don't blame me, it's the shipper, and all that sort of stuff. If you're watching the movie while you're letting your truck sit and you're letting the freight boil, man, do that then, right? Do that then. But there's too much freight out on the board. So says DAT, so says Truck Stops. Truck Stops numbers were, they look at it different, but there's a boatload of freight still out there. Again, 70 some odd percent on the spot market increase over last year. Last year, about this time, it was about 100% over 2016. So if we had a truck shortage in 2016, and if you watch my video yesterday or the day before, we're increasing trucks, adding drivers at about 10%. If we're up 100% last year, we're up 72% this year. That tells me we're up 172% over 16. We've only added 10% worth of trucks. Let the freight sit. I wouldn't be afraid to do it. I really wouldn't. Harding, how are you, man? Josh, I'm doing well. Alice, how are you? Big Steel Trucker, Archie, Josh. Let's see who else. Nittany Lion. We got a Pennsylvania fan. Cherry season. It is in full swing, or it's pretty close to it. And it wasn't clickbait, Neo. See, I told you it wasn't going to be. Gary Roach. Let's see what you got to say, man. Gary, I hope that you're going to find some positivity today, man. I need you to take some. I need you to take some positive pills. You're pretty negative. Let's see. You finally see that 99.9% of people in trucking industry are full of crap. Let me finish. It's been that way for years, and those numbers are misleading information about what freight is doing nationwide. Okay, do you have any proof of that, Gary? Give me some proof. Give me some evidence that tells you that what I'm saying is inaccurate, and dude, I'll support you 100%. And I agree, Greg. I mean, rates have not kept pace with fuel. And I think, Wilbur, I told the live feed here what you said earlier to the broker about, they were like, look, I can't pay that, right? And you're like, they're not going to be held hostage. And your response was, yeah, guess what? I don't want to pay the freaking $3.20 a gallon at the fuel pump, but I don't have a choice. So stand firm. No, truck management never sleeps either, right? I mean, I can tell you, we've got company drivers that are constantly grinding on where can I buy the cheapest fuel? What's the best route? What's this, right? That. You know, Wilbur's trying to find the best run. I'm always standing on his neck looking for better rates. It never sleeps. Neo says, whoa. That's really unfortunate. I just spilled the entire drink. Oh, it's on my laptop too. That's not what I was really hoping for. Hey, we're gonna call a timeout while I get this off my laptop. This is not what I wanted at all. This laptop's like pretty new. It's like 6 months old. That is not what I wanted. See, and this is what you get for using a coaster. I was trying to take care of my table. Holy cow. All right, let's go on. Let's see what happened. They should pay more greedy pricks. I don't know. That's really the case. It's just, look, you can do a phenomenal job for these guys. I mean, you can do everything right. You can do all the check calls. You can do everything right. You can be honest, and they're thrilled about that right up until they're not, and it doesn't matter, right? Right up until their customers want to fight that fight, and it just doesn't matter. That's why I have a tough time believing the relationships matter. Now, here's where I think the relationships do matter. I think the relationships matter a whole hell of a lot if you're dealing with direct customers, right? If you're dealing with a direct customer, I think it's a very, very different market, and it's a very different space. And that's where I think they absolutely matter. But when you're dealing with brokers, and you're not dealing with the individuals that are writing the check, I just don't think there's a whole hell of a lot of value in it. I really don't. I do think it's like what do they call it? Match.com, right? I mean, it's like, cool. They might look really sexy right up until I go to that first date, and all of a sudden they don't, right? It just doesn't matter. There is no loyalty left when it comes down to the price point. Oklahoma Dave, I agree with you, man. Again, I think when you're dealing with direct customers, I think there's a lot of that loyalty comes into effect and plays a big role. I really do think that. I do. Tommy Reed, Scott's a great steward for all of us. You're welcome. I don't know if a lot of people would agree with you there, but hey, man, I'll take the compliment. I used to love U-Ship back in the day. Every trucker, let's see, should take 5 loads. They really don't care if they haul or not, and offer a ridiculously high price every day just to get the brokers' expectations back up where they should be. Listen, that's sort of what I was, what Wilbur and I were talking about before I spilled my Dr. Pepper all over me and the ground. Hey, watch out. Is just tell them no, right? Let that rate just sit there and bake, and let the freight sit there and bake. And whenever nobody wants to move it, because again, if there's a truck shortage and there's 72% freight more than there was 72% more freight there was last year, and last year was 100% more than the year before, just let it sit, right? And then when the brokers go, nobody will take this load at 30 cents cheaper today per mile than what we were offering it on Friday just 3 days ago, I don't know. Let them sit. Greg Inman says, 233 loads left on the load board as of 8 p.m. Eastern, 150 miles of me. Tomorrow shows 500 plus already. Just let it freaking sit. And it's not often that I say this. Oh, here's a piece of ice. Hang on. God, there's a whole lot of ice there. It's not often I say this because I think the economics, the numbers show not to do it. But again, with July and August upcoming, you might very well be better suited financially at the end of the month to sit for an entire day. Now, this sort of assumes that a lot of other guys are doing that. I suspect what's going to happen are guys are going to, a lot of guys are going to grab it. But again, there's not enough trucks to move this quantity of freight. So you might very well be better off to sit and just let it bake. The rate's low because some of the brokers are booking a load and rebroke. Yeah, there is some of that. There is some double brokering that goes on. I mean, but that's not what's going on this time of year, right? I mean, that goes on 365 days a year. That's not what's going on. Kevin Hansen says, used to sell truckloads of ham to Little Caesars. True commodity play. 2 to 3 cents per pound would swing the business to the Yahoos. You're spot on. Look, I have seen, because we have looked at the brokers, I've seen a brokerage that we were close to partnering with, $100+ million brokerage, and I have seen some of the responses that they have won on some large customers. And this gentleman, Kevin Hansen, absolutely correct. These guys are making less than a nickel of profit on the entire run. Now, granted, we're talking, there might be 500 runs of that lane for the year. But for all the guys that say, oh my God, they're making more than I am. No, they're not. On some runs, yes, they are. On a lot of runs, not even close, right? Not even close. TQL says that a lot to us. Let's see, and worldwide. Good job. We can count on you. Get the load. And the next week they dropped it $200, no doubt. Gary Roach. Gary, I hope you're going to be positive. Brokers are in the business to make money, just like trucking companies, and it's who they can screw over. The lease, and you can still make money. And there's truth to that, right? That's not exactly negative. Keep on trucking. We don't need the government controlling our rates. Couldn't agree with you more. And I know I'm kind of way behind. Let me jump down to the bottom. Chris Tillman, I found through his own experience that flatbed brokers lie about 25% of the time. Took an OD load Thursday, was supposed to be 9 foot wide, ended up being 14 foot wide. Just a little outside, right? No, I'm not taking it personal, Logic. I'm not taking it personal. No, I'm not at all taking that personal, because I mean it is kind of clickbaity, but not really, right? You know, you see what I'm saying? It's a little clickbaity. Yeah, no kidding. I've got Dr. Pepper all over the freaking floor right now, and me, right? That's the worst part. And the worst part is I have a little bit left. That's what I salvaged out of that. I do have a drinking problem. I can't drink. Yeah. What's funny is everybody thinks I drink so much. I really don't drink much as far as alcohol. We're gonna get a house tour now. Well, I don't know if you know where the mop is at, then yeah, we can get a house tour. Tommy Reed, welcome, man. Jim says I got Windex under my. This is gonna require more than Windex. This is gonna be like one big sticky goo. Dave Wilbur throwing out the quote. Here's the quote from the broker today. We're done being held hostage by these rates. Yep, there you go. Gary Roach. Gary, I hope this is the one that you're positive. Hell, I've been doing this for over 20 years now, and it's getting worse every year. And their freight was so high, I wouldn't be pulling a grain hopper, hauling feed, or a cattle pot. God dang it. One of these times, Gary, man, you're gonna come through for me, man. You're gonna be positive. Keep on Trucking says our industry was destroyed under the Obama administration. It needs to be fixed. There's a lot of things. Look, I'm gonna be, and I don't even mean to say this political. It's gonna sound really political. And I'll say this, not necessarily like just because of Obama, but there were a lot of things that went really south with that administration. But I think there's a lot of other things that are going south with, in prior administrations and even the current one that we have. Look, the economy's doing great and all that sort of stuff, and we're all thankful for that. It has a lot to do with the rates and whatever. But we do need to overcome some of the challenges that the government has within constraints within our industry for sure. Mop is in the kitchen. No, the mop is not in the kitchen. It's somewhere. I did just buy a new bucket today, actually, at Home Depot for the mop. The mop's in the garage somewhere. Jackknife TV at $3,500 a load. I spoke about yesterday. Just wasted my whole day at the shippers. They added an extra stop on it, which I'll have to call Landstar in the morning and make them pay for wasting my day. Hey Wilbur, you wanna? Well, I can mention it. Hang on. So I think Kristen saw a video the other day, because I got a text and she asked me if I was still chewing. I didn't lie. I did not lie. I just didn't respond to that text. So hang on. We had a driver that was supposed to deliver Saturday. The receiver has never been open on the weekends, ever in the history of the company, kind of a deal. And so we show up on Saturday ready to deliver, and they're not open, of course, and we ended up having to wait until Monday. And we ended up, and here's the problem, right? So we said all day Saturday, and we were supposed to have we had another load. In fact, Wilbur did a great job getting a good load. Delivered it picked on Saturday. So we said all day Saturday. We said all day Sunday. We unload Monday morning. And then we if we're lucky, we pick Monday night. So we essentially lost 3 full days worth of revenue. Because that broker, I was about to say lied. Here's what happened. Supposedly this broker, their sales department, who has the relationship with the shipper, inadvertently, incorrectly, accidentally, oops, said that they receive on Saturday, which they've never done ever in the history of the company. People make mistakes. This could have been a mistake. So that's sort of one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is the broker know that if they had a load that was going to be like a 2-day run that's really going to be a 4 or 4.5 day run, it was going to cost them a hell of a lot more money, because nobody's going to take, I don't know, a 1,000-mile run that takes 4 days or 4.5 days. Nobody's going to take that unless the money is insane. So they know that. So they probably pocket a lot of that money. They end up trying to throw a couple $100 our way for a layover, call it good, and move on. So we'll see how that broker handles it. That is a broker, that's a big broker that considers us to be one of their A carriers. We're going to be, look, we are an A carrier. And if they try to screw us on this, we're going to be an A-hole carrier, right? We'll be an asshole. I don't know. So you see it all, man. For those guys that are running one truck, it's bittersweet. Like if you're running one truck, it's bittersweet because it's going to take you a whole lot longer to encounter a lot of the BS and the lies that you get from the brokers, right? So that's good, the good news. The bad news is it's going to take you a lot longer to learn some of those really painful, expensive lessons. Remember what rates were like when Obama took office. Can't blame that on him. No, absolutely, right? Pop Bear, you're right. If you want to know the truth, no, I don't remember what rates were like in 2008, right? 2008. I don't remember what they were like, but I do remember what happened in 2008, which was I lost a whole lot of money, and that really isn't on Obama, right? That's more on the housing market and that whole thing. I think the receiver pulled a fast one. They no longer needed the product. I can't tell you how many times I hear this story. Man, this is a hot load. Broker told me I got to be here either for the pick or the drop or whatever. And trucks get there, whether it's our guys or other guys, they get there and there's nobody even there, right? And the shipper receiver is like, it's not that hot of a load. To me, it's sort of like crying wolf. Like if it's a hot load, tell me it's a hot load. We'll do everything that we can do to get it there on time. But if it's not, don't cause me to run 70 miles an hour, however fast your truck can run or whatever, to get the load there. Don't lie to me and cost me more money. I don't know. I don't get that piece. Little Viking Coach said, no, I don't know, man. Here's the thing about the vinegar on the tree. So he's gone out there like every time. Quick backstory. I got planted a new tree. It was fine for the first few days, and now Briggs is going out and he's chewing the limbs off the freaking tree. And so every time I let him go out, I sort of stand off to the side of the door, and I'm like peeking around the corner. And he'll walk over to the corner where the tree is, and he'll just be standing on the travertine before he gets into the rocks where the tree's at, and he'll look back to see if he can see me. If he can't see me, then he'll walk over there, and then I open the door and I yell at him, and he comes running back. If he sees me, he just like wanders around and acts like, oh, I wasn't going by this tree. It just happened to be over here where I'm at. I'm a little hesitant to use vinegar. I don't want to change the pH and then get the soil or kill the tree. So I don't know. Charlie, what'd you miss? Brokers, lying stinking brokers. But they're not just to blame, and there's plenty of drivers and carriers that lie just as much. TJ, how are you, man? Let's see, the ship rated. I get detention for mileage, getting ready. Good for you. No, it's not the golden doodle that's eating the tree. It's freaking Briggs. Like I think there might be a bird's nest or something in there, but it's a pineapple palm. And so for those that don't know what a pineapple palm is, it's got like a really big base, and in the front it's like a real short, fat, wide tree. But you can't get into the middle of it because the fronds, when they come out new, they're like this long, hypodermic needles. Like you can't stick your hands in there. So I don't know if there's a bird's nest in there but he's like shredding this tree. Like I don't mean that he like sometimes goes over there and just like kind of chews on it. I mean he's tearing this tree apart. He only typically does that when there's a bird in there. Yeah, he is eyeballing me. I got the BB gun out. Don't tell PETA. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. Understand, look, man, if you guys are on the spot market, arm yourself with facts, arm yourself with the data of what the amount of freight really is. Now look, if you end up in the middle of freaking nowhere, North Dakota, that's on you, right? You better make sure you got $4.50 or $5 in, because you're gonna be deadheading out 300 or 400 miles. I'm not saying don't take that run. I'm just saying make sure that you carry your backhaul in, right? Make sure you got $4.50 or $5 going into there. That's what I'm saying. Jesse Reed, is that a baseball hat? It is a baseball hat. It's my son's high school team. So it's not like Chicago Bears or anything like that. Here's the thing, Harding, I don't think it's lizards, because he hasn't seen enough lizards to like care. It's gotta be a bird, because that's all he's a one-track dog, right? It's birds. Food Mooch, welcome, man. Well, that is true. There's a lot of good bird hunting in North Dakota. I'll give you that. Tigger. So for those that don't follow I Am Small Fry, he's got some good videos. Go show him a little love. Click on his little icon and then subscribe. He's got like the cutest, ugliest dog. Like the dog is so ugly, it's cute. It's that dog, and it really is. Her name's Tigger. She won't pee if there's not grass. So, Sugar Shine, how's it going? That's what I know. Hey, but seriously, arm yourself with data, arm yourself with facts and numbers and all that kind of stuff. And so when these brokers are saying my customer, they won't pay that, you can remind them that fuel's up 30% and that freight volumes are up whatever they are this year, and they're 100% up over last year. And we really haven't added that many trucks. So that's what I know. But don't be afraid to sit, right? And more importantly, get that same message out to a lot of other drivers, right? Don't let these guys that don't know about the business, that they don't know what happens in late July and late August, spend some time not being derogatory and negative and condescending on these other trucking forums and things like that. Educate these guys so that they know what is about to come our way for the next 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Chris, take it easy, man. I know you got to start your pre-trip. I got to start my post-trip and clean up this sticky goo. That's all I got. You guys have a good one. For Making Miles, stay safe.